move on to our next presenter, Farzana Ahmed, who is presenting on promoting accountability to affected population through localization, challenges and learning. Farzana is currently working as a monitoring and evaluation focal for Start Fund Bangladesh, a humanitarian emergency pooled fund for 47 NGOs across Bangladesh. She had previously worked with UNDP, designing and testing various financial inclusion products for poor rural women. And she has 8 years expertise in financial inclusion, social capital and urban development with organisations including UN Habitat, Danish Refugee Council, Slum Dwellers International, International City Leaders, Ashoka and UNDP. Farzana, thank you for joining us today and I'll give you the floor.
Thank you. It's an honor for Start Fund Bangladesh to participate in the Humanitarian Leadership Conference and to share our experience. So my presentation is more of a practical presentation and not very much theoretical, but it kind of shows how the policies and the theories talking about inclusion and solidarity are being embodied by our processes. So moving on to a brief introduction about who Start Fund Bangladesh is. So Start Fund Bangladesh was modeled on the successful experience of Start Networks, a successful Start Fund. So Start Fund Bangladesh was created in 2017 with the support from UK Aid. And our niche lies in the fact that we are a civil society led and owned fund. And we're a pooled funding mechanism that activates funding within 72 hours of a crisis alert. And we are able to make sure we are providing direct access to funding to local and national NGOs through a very localized process. Now moving on to our members, we have 47 members who you can see on this slide. 27 of these are local and national NGOs, and our members are situated all over Bangladesh in each and every district of Bangladesh. So our responses are very localized, community-oriented responses where we allow the flexibility and adaptability for our projects according to the local needs of the local organizations. So why did we start thinking about mechanism for accountability for affected population? Now, since as a signatory of the Grand Bergen agreements or commitments, our entire objective was based on the localization work streams. So localization, as you said, is multidimensional, and we developed our model by understanding what localization actually meant from various members and communities. And we came up with a definition of localization. But while doing our work, we realized that localization does not automatically translate to better community participation or accountability. So, it's not that local organizations are the best representatives of community views and opinions, and to what extent are they doing that? So we realized that our members, 47, were following diverse accountability processes with very little consistency in implementation and monitoring. For many, it was a very ornamental and box ticking exercise. And we realized that there's a need to systematize accountability within the organization process as a common practice that could be monitored. So this is what led to the development of MAP, which set out 16 practical tools. So these accountability tools are divided into 4 broad themes: information provision, let me show you. Information provision, tools for participation, complaint feedback response mechanism, sorry about that. And then we have the learning and adaptation. So if you look at the tools, they're a very holistic view of accountability. So we don't take accountability as simply meaning feedback and response mechanism. We think accountability is every single part of the project cycle. So it starts from how you provide information to communities, how are you engaging them, how are you selecting the participants, what kind of hierarchies are present when you're doing that, what kind of community dynamics are present, how do you tackle that, What are the learnings that you get from the process? How do you adapt them to the process? These tools were not just created out of the blue. They came after an extensive literature review of various accountability frameworks that we conducted with an agency called Nirapod. We also did various interviews with our members as well as community stakeholders, and we came up with a set of tools that actually could be implemented and localized. And when operationalizing MAP, so we completed the tools in 2019 and we started implementing them in 2020. And it was piloted for 16 responses in 2020 through 25 implementing organizations. So in 2020, 85% of all our funds went to local and national NGOs directly. So the learnings that we have in this presentation are very heavy on the perspective and experiences of local and national NGOs. The key learnings that I'm going to also be sharing with you are derived from a survey we conducted with the implementing agencies, as well as the MAP adaptation status reports that each agency submitted and a joint learning workshop. I'm really sorry for the airplanes that fly around. So there is the first learning that we got. I'm going to try what you see on the slide are the key insights. I'm going to be sharing with you the experience of how we came up with the key insights. So one thing we realized was that CRM mechanism, which is complaint response mechanism, is very ornamental without contextualization and systemization. So one thing we realized that although many members were reporting they have CRM in place, there was very low participant engagement in the process. So we were trying to understand why are participants not engaging in the process, and we came to identify that community trust is a huge issue, and it is a prerequisite for any accountability framework to actually work. And it's also an end result as well as a prerequisite. So one thing we realized that many of these organizations were activating CRM on an ad hoc basis. So whenever they get a funding, that's when they activate the CRM. So this became a great challenge in terms of human resource retention, budget, capacity development. And we started advocating for the systematization of CRM and addressing the gaps within it. And since then, many of our agencies have started doing that. Another thing we notice is that, whenever we talk about conflict response mechanism, people talk about a traditional hotline number or a complaint box. But this is very challenging when you come to respond to remote or hard to reach populations like we do. So because accessibility and network is a huge issue over there. Because of the tools, the MAP tools, the members were able to understand, okay, we have this information, and how are you going to process what you're going to do with the information? So the agency started contextualizing the tools with the guidance of MAP and obviously from our side. So we had organizations like Jago Nari and Uttoron who were activating and volunteers in order to record informal complaints. SEEP, another organization, deployed volunteers with mobile complaint boxes to work around urban slums to take in complaints through informal means, providing that kind of anonymity. We also had, for urban disasters particularly, we noticed that our Facebook page was very helpful in taking in complaints that were coming in, and we were able to act on those. Another key insight is information sharing. Now, one thing is very important, that community participation cannot be active without active information sharing with participants of what your project is doing or what your organization is doing. So one thing is that if agencies cannot access the cultural context of communities, which involves things like language, taboos, beliefs, literacy levels, they cannot adapt processes through which the community can be engaged. So local organizations, we noticed, had this kind of knowledge, but one key process was missing. And the process that was missing was that, how do you adapt this process to the needs of the community? So this is where MAP came in with their tools, and it was able to guide how to do surveys on information needs of communities, and how to use that information to adapt the information sharing tools. So for example, organizations like CNRS identified issues such as, women were not feeling comfortable discussing sanitary pad issues or usage in front of the community. So we had to develop devise different sessions for that. We had to include more sensitive approaches for women-friendly programs. We also adapted many emergency messaging techniques. For example, in Chittagong Hill Tracts region, we translated emergency messages into 12 minority languages. In Friendship, Friendship used boats to communicate emergency messages to remote populations. DSK collaborated with mosques and religious leaders and used their platform to appeal to mass populations. So we saw many kind of adaptations happening. Going on to the third insight, we had influence of local gatekeepers in participant selection process. So the participant selection process that is outlined in the MAP tools is actually very systematic and takes a lot of time. So it starts with, a process where you do needs assessment, you do consolidation of existing participant list, you do a formation of participant selection committee, which has to be representative. Then there's a volunteer team which validates the information. The community is shown the list, they validate the list, and after the entire process, a local government representative signs off on the list. So what happened because of the COVID-19 restrictions, not all the processes could be followed to the letter. We had a digitized system before COVID-19 where we used to collect household information face to face. We were not able to implement that. We were also not able to follow all the processes of involving every single member of the community or the gatekeepers from the very initial stage. So members noted that influence of gatekeepers was a big challenge this time for us when implementing the tools. So we came up with a learning that these tools actually, the tool, especially participant selection process, need to be adopted when it comes to COVID-19 context and what kind of restrictions are in place. Another very important tool that we had was the tools called for an appointment of an accountability focal, who we are referring to as humanitarian accountability and community engagement officer. So this role, or the accountability officer's role, was to oversee the implementation of accountability tools throughout the project cycle. And this tool was very, very problematic at the first, but initially it was very problematic, but later on in the survey, our members said this was one of the most effective tools. So for example, the challenges that we faced in implementing these tools was that organizations were adamant about appointing an exclusive accountability officer, and they often made the monitoring focal carry out the role of the accountability focal. So they didn't think that the two were different. That's how organizations think, that they think accountability is a side role. It's not like a main thing that organizations do. So we did a lot of advocacy in that. We ensured that every proposal had a budgetary component to keep a salary of accountability focal. We also carried out orientation on the accountability tools with the accountability officer before every response. And gradually we saw that agencies were beginning to realize the importance of this role. Organizations such as Uttaron and Center for Natural Resources Studies have actually embodied an accountability officer as part of the organization process right now, which they had not done before. Another important insight is that assessing community needs accurately needs quality information management systems, which many of our members were lacking, or it was not as good as we thought. So in the local context, there were many data sources and formats that mismatched, and organizations lacked good information management system. So in order to ensure we have rapid and accurate data to ensure more better project design, it was becoming difficult. So one way we had tried to mitigate that was developing Kobo software to do online or digital surveys, but that also meant that we had to do a survey before every response. So what we went further than the MAP tools, and what we decided to do as Start Fund Bangladesh is that we partnered with a tech company called Empower to initiate the development of an online data repository to improve access to pre-crisis data and hazard-specific indicators for Bangladesh. So this data repository is actually filled by all the member agencies whenever they carry out a survey, and they deposit their information or data in the repository through a validation process, and the data is available to everyone to use. So in that way, we were able to, through a very collaborative process, so we were able to make data, data requirements easier for everybody. Some of the key insights, just to conclude, are number one, what we realized is the task of creating accountability is not simply about developing and providing frameworks to be followed. It needs active engagement with humanitarian agencies to identify capacity and system gaps, and addressing this through a collaborative process. Now, to shift accountability beyond a box ticking exercise, frontline staff need to understand the philosophy and objective of accountability process. The intent and ethics of individuals matter. The framework is only a skeleton. The life of it is the humanitarian worker. So, and there's also a need to create flexibility on how an individual agency wants to adapt a tool, while keeping the key variables constant. So adaptability is very important to ensure that it's not a top-down approach, that the tools are also constantly changing through feedback from the ground. And also community trust is a prerequisite for this to work, but also an end result of this. As a success story for us, this tool has actually been adopted by the Bangladesh Humanitarian Coordination System as a requirement for all humanitarian agencies to respond to disasters. And it's a great achievement for us. And I'm open to questions. And this is, if you want to reach us further, it's here. And the learning document is also shared in this link and also in the resources section of this presentation. Thank you.